Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on another Connecting Greeks episode. Today's episode is very special, but before we begin, you may see that Angelo Tsarouchas is missing from the lineup here, and we regret to inform everybody he had a death within his personal social circle. So his heart is not into it right now, and I'm sure he's busy doing a few things. So that's why he's not with us. But instead of having one guest, we have two to make up for it. And before we get to these guests, let me introduce Foti Stamos, my co-host. Hi, Foti.
Yes, Lottie. Thank you so much for the intro. Always a pleasure to be here with us.
Thank you.
And go ahead.
No, I'm giving it right over to you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ari. As every segment, we always bring fun and interesting guests from around not just the U.S., but the globe, with Greeks who are making definitely impressions around the world. And with us tonight, we have two very special guests, as you mentioned. Two guests that I think for me have been special in the sense that what they do, we've probably have seen their work for years, whether you've been in the house waiting for your parents to actually open up their newspaper, whether you heard about their publication through family and friends at events and so forth. But we have the special pleasure and honor to have with us this evening Eraklis and Vanessa Diamataris of the National Herald, and I can say the ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ. With us today, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the segment, Eraklis and Vanessa. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
Foti mentioned how our Greek community is so familiar, and I just wanted to throw in a little story that I'm envious, because we've been doing Greek community, Greek websites, Greek apps, all these things, and I always go to my mother-in-law, and I'm like, "Oh, you've heard of the site I did, right?" She's like, "Oh, no, I don't know that." "Oh, you saw the app I did?" "Oh, no. And then, long story short, she's like, "Oh, what are you guys doing?" We're gonna have the publishers and editors of the National Herald." And she's like, "Oh, the National Herald," and I'm like, "Finally, you know something." So it's great that so many people, had made this part of their life, especially the Greek life of America, and it's a great thing, an amazing thing, and it's something so needed.
Right. And you have a fascinating story. I mean, the publication to begin with has been with us for a very long time. If you can just walk us through a little bit about, the creation and inception of the publication, because I think folks that are going to be listening to this segment don't realize, I think, is it the longest running publication in the U.S.?
It's actually the only Greek publication, daily Greek publication, published outside of Greece.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, we are a very old newspaper. We were founded in 1915, so we're 105 years old, the Greek version is, which is amazing in today's day and age to have a company that is over 100 years old, is especially something that started out so small and by immigrants from Greece. And our English publication is 23 years old. In 1997, my father realized that a lot of the Greek community, the first generation and second generation Greeks, their Greek maybe wasn't as good as their parents or their grandparents. And despite that, they still wanted to keep in touch with their Greek roots, their heritage, their culture, everything Greek. I mean, we're first generation, so we very, very much associate ourselves with our Greek roots. Limnos and Kriti, shout out to them, because we know that we always have to represent exactly where.
Equal shout out though, we don't want problems.
Yes.
Is your background from those areas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Our father is from Limnos and our mother is from Crete.
Excellent.
My mother is also from Crete. Where is she?
Aptachania.
That's where my mom is from.
We're
Hey.
probably related.
Might be
Probably.
related.
My mom's family name was Tsikudakis.
Tsikudakis. Okay. We're Kalogeris. I'm sure we'll play the
Actually,
name game a little bit later.
oh my God, that's so crazy. And my mom likes to say that her family invented Tsikudia, and I always believed that growing up. So if anybody asks,
You better.
yeah, you know the founding family.
Yeah, if I could also just touch on a little bit on ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ's history, just a little bit more. In 1915, on April 2nd, we were founded by Petros Tatani, and ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ was founded because at that time in Greece there was two competing political factions. There were the royalists, like the monarchists. Greece used to have a royal family on and off until 1974. And there was a prime minister then, Eleftherios Venizelos. Many of your listeners will have heard of him in history class, or maybe they just went to Greece and they figured, that's the guy the airport's named after. But yeah, so he saw way ahead of his years. He saw way into the future, trying to build a modern Greek state. And a big part of that for him was in his cabinet, he actually had members of the Greek diaspora, because he knew that a lot of them were really well-educated folks, people like Averov, and who were Greek Egyptian, just highly educated Greeks from abroad. That was kind of like a dream team in his cabinet. And so when he needed support from the diaspora, Petros Tatanis was a supporter of Venizelos, and he founded ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ to counter another Greek newspaper here in America called Atlantis, which was pro-monarchy. So we were the liberal Republican kind of newspaper, countering the far-right monarchist one.
Oh wow,
Amazing.
that is so cool. I
It
love
seems
listening
that
to
through the years, you or ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ pretty much paved the way where we don't see Atlantis any longer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Being in Boston, born and raised through the years for the last 40 years, plus, I remember as a child growing up, there was actually a van, ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡYX van, that would actually do the drop-offs to all major distribution points in the city of Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have images of that growing up as kids. It's been embedded in our heads about the ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡYX van. But obviously we've evolved from the distribution points, where you mentioned the National Herald was created back about 20 plus years ago.
23, yeah.
We saw the evolution of our communities, which we're, as well, at the same token, we're obviously seeing the change and evolution of our Greek and Greek American communities as time goes on in our generation for that part. And I think it's so important that we also continue to evolve with the changes in our society with that change. Desperately needed to keep us connected in forms of different media that keeps us informed, that we always have this concern as time goes on and as our generations go on, we start to get a little diluted, and will we lose our Greekness like other cultures have over the years in this country. But as Greeks and Greek Americans, I think as a culture, I think we keep it together pretty tight versus other ethnic groups.
I would love to get both of you guys' opinions on that, because you guys probably see a much deeper version of everything Foti said, like of the Greek community. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, I think so. But I think you made a really good point in saying that unlike many other ethnic communities, we are very, very tight-knit. I think we can become even more tight-knit. There are so many various groups and organizations that really do their best to keep us together. But there shouldn't be, in my opinion, maybe 5 Cretan societies, for example. We should have one overarching one. There shouldn't be so much segmentation in our Greek communities, in our Greek groups. There's only so many of us. I would rather have a group of 50 people than 5 groups of 10 people. Yeah. We need to get back to that kind of basic ideal, I think, of everybody coming together, everybody working towards the same goals. We're all Greek, we all want the best for Greece. We all still have family in Greece or have some sort of tie to Greece. And I think that's really the overarching umbrella that we need to focus on. And I think if we do that, there are several organizations that do that, but I think if we really focus on that, that's the most important to me. Eraklis, what do you think? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so, you know, you guys, I'm going to kind of group you guys close to our age group, even though we're probably like much older, but let's just say when we were young, there was a definite urgency to have the Greek friends and to go out to Greek nights and to Greek events. Like, we felt like you have to do, like, there's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts. We're going to this Greek night. Where, you know, 90% of my friends were Greek. And I feel like it was a special time, and I have thoughts on how things changed. But if we have time, we'll get into that. But do you feel that the more the generations pass and the more we're kind of like assimilated into American culture, that urgency has been disappearing?
Look, I think that we are extremely blessed to be able to be both Greek and American. I think, you know, being able to tie the world's sole superpower today with the superpower of the ancient days, and combine that into one human being is something definitely powerful, right? I mean, yeah. There's a lot to be proud of.
I'm going to steal that. I like the way you put that.
Sure. It's just, you know, I'm waiting for those royalties, by the way. But I think, just to go back just a little bit to what my sister was saying, that I think there is a little bit of, like, we are very tight knit. I mean, you see that within family dynamics. I mean, you know, growing up, like, your friends who were not Greek definitely remarked on how usually, you know, not always, but usually how unusually tight your family was, and how you, like, Greek children usually genuinely like hanging out with their family. It's not some forced activity like a lot of our friends from other cultures who, you know, they view family get-togethers as an obligation rather than something that they enjoy. And we genuinely love our cousins. They're like siblings, you know. We you know, we call people who aren't even related to us Theo and Thea. Like, you know, we love that stuff. I will also say, though, that, you know, as tight-knit that we are in the family unit, at times when we go out into the community, we're a little bit too tribal. And I would probably equate that to, like, ancient Greece with city-states rather than one republic, where, you know, you'd have, like, isolated tight-knitness, but then, like, the whole overarching thing is a little scattershot. And that's where ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ comes in and the National Herald come in, where, along with the church, we try to, you know, have those bridges to our past and our diaspora story, but also keep those connections alive with Greece and Cyprus. There's a lot of different things that we can do. I'm grateful that you grouped us in the same age group. You know, but you know, it's a very difficult question what you asked, because you guys are also, like my sister and I, from centers of Hellenism in North America. So it's very easy to be immersed in Greekness. You can go down the street, you might hear Greek. You'll definitely see a shop with Greek letters maybe on it. You know, you'll see a Greek Orthodox church. But that's not the experience in a lot of places in this country. This is a huge country, and some people, you could be the only Greek person for 100 miles. So there is an urgency in those places. I've found from my conversations with members of the community that aren't in these centers, but in terms of, you know, Boston or New York, I think that now that you're getting into the second, third, and, you know, in some cases, fourth generation of Greeks, there might be some complacency. We need to take care of our culture, and our language is very important. And not viewing Greece as a vacation spot, but the place where you're from, and being proud of it the way that you are proud to be an American.
Very, very good points that you stressed. That I would definitely agree with you just mentioned. You know, not viewing Greece as a vacation spot, but basically the homeland that we're proud of. That
It's
offers
great for
more than
vacation
just
too.
right,
But
but it offers more than just summers.
yes.
Because you know, our culture embeds in us a lot of ethics and values that we bring to our everyday life. The family structure for us, as you mentioned, is superior because it actually, for us, it molds us as who we are as people in society. And you know, as much as I look back and I would be always angry at my parents for the way they used to, you know, treat us, you know, where they were very strict on certain aspects, and like, why do we have to be like this? And my friends who were not Greek were their parents were so flexible. Now I know why. It's because it molds us into better, you know, in my opinion, into better citizens of the societies that we live in.
I think all Greek children thought that they had it horrible when they were little. And then when they grew up and actually realized what things are important in life and how important families and how important, you know, so many things are, we were like, wow, we really had it better, you know, because
Yeah, I mean, I think I disagree a little bit. To be honest, I loved growing up Greek. I was looked at as the girl that had this amazing mom who always, whenever I had sleepovers at my house, for example, she was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, making breakfast for everybody, going to Dunkin' Donuts, getting the donuts, making sure that she was like the most hospitable person that you could ever imagine. And maybe that's the Cretan in her, but everybody was like, Vanessa, your family is like a little weird, but so cool. You know, it was.
You're so lucky.
Did you feel like they were stricter than other kids' parents?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I was never allowed to sleep over to other people's houses, but that was okay because everybody wanted to come to mine anyway. Or I think Irakli had it a little bit easier than I did. I was 5 years older. I was also a girl. So it was I think it was, and my parents were immigrants. So I was, they were very strict when it came to school and going out and things like that.
But that's where I think that's where my kind of point was, is that like my parents would be like, no, you can't buy anything you want. You can't buy this, you can't buy that, because they knew the value of a dollar and they wanted to instill like a work ethic. And it's like, you can't go out all night. You can't do this because, you know, the paliopes are like whatever doing this stuff. And you're like, oh man, they have it so much better than I do. This sucks. And then you get to an age where you're like, no, they taught me so much that I didn't realize when I was young. And I think that's kind of the point I was making. But as far as like your mom and like how you had it, like, oh, I 100% agree with that. A Cretan mom, forget it. The best.
And the work ethic, looking back now, the work ethic and other values that our parents, our parents instilled in us they're invaluable. You can't put a price on them. I mean, I'm sure, like, you guys are entrepreneurs. You've started so many companies, apps, development, all that stuff, seeing things through from beginning to end. And same with me, like I went to tough schools. I worked at a law firm for a few years, working 24, 25-hour days, if you can imagine. But I don't think that I would have been able to do those things had it not been for the example that my parents showed us, where my dad was working 24/7, always on the computer. And when he wasn't on the computer, he was always reading, trying to better himself in some way, shape, or form, or going to some Greek event, introducing himself to people, being part of the community in general. And I'm sure that this obviously is what makes us so unique, is that is not unique to my family. It's unique to every single Greek family that I know. We're very, very proud people. We're very hardworking people. And yeah, I mean, we, like Iraklis said, we are very privileged to be able to bring together the best of both worlds, the Greek world and the US world. And I think that's how we advance our culture, how we advance our society, and how we help Greece in some sort of way.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely that's a huge part of it. The last thing that Vanessa just said, it's you know, we grew up with Greek parents, and Greek parents might be tougher than some other cultures in the United States, but a lot of the emotional intelligence that you get, like naturally, occurs at a younger age, I think, within a Greek family unit, because you're so tight. You get a lot of those lessons that might fall through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I mean, people thought it was strange that in college I spoke to my folks every day. People thought that was strange.
I thought it was married, and I go home with my husband every single weekend.
Yeah.
Back to my house on Long Island to visit my parents, and he loves that too. Like, he's like, oh yes, home cooked meals. Your parents are awesome. Like, let's go. I mean, really, every weekend.
But that goes back into the point that I made earlier. Like, we actually enjoy spending time with our families. Like, it's not an obligation, and that gets drilled into you from a little kid, and that's how you become a good parent, and that's how you raise quality people who understand the importance of the thing that you guys were mentioning, money, the importance of your roots in Greece, like understanding that the United States has given you things. Like, there's a reason your family members came over from Greece. They couldn't do what they wanted to there, and America was the vehicle to fulfill their dreams. So while using that, and like using their sacrifice and using, like, their sacrifice and their sweat and all that, they're trying to instill in you that enough is never enough. Do it responsibly, and each generation needs to be better than the next, because we've suffered a lot, so that to put you in a position that you don't have to. And so if each generation does that, we're going to be in great shape. Like, a lot of our Jewish friends, they've gotten it down to an art form. They prioritize education. They're very tight-knit communities. They have birthright. They go a paid government trip back to Israel and really engage with the roots. I know we have the Ionian village through the Greek Orthodox Church. It's things like that that make you a more finished article by the time that you get to an age where, if you go to college, 17, 18 years old, I mean, by the age of 30, you are way, way ahead of most people in your friend group that might not be Greek. Obviously Southern Mediterranean countries are different than the northern ones, but I think that the diaspora Greeks are a much more finished product than a lot of other cultures here in America.
Definitely. I mean, we come across so many fascinating individuals, Greek Americans or Greeks, who hold really high places in their industries, whether it's tech, finance, medical, business, real estate, you name it. There's so many great Greeks and Greek Americans who come from the same background as you and I and the rest of us here right now.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've almost had a president twice.
Yeah,
which is extraordinary. We had, I mean, obviously the first time was a little unfortunate with Spiro Agnew, but we had Michael Dukakis in '88, and he was doing great things, and he was governor of Massachusetts. We have actors, we have singers, we have athletes, the Golden Greek, we have all these things. The reigning two-time NBA MVP is now a member of the Greek diaspora community, Yanni Antetokounmpo. I mean, it's insane to think about it. It's we've come so far in 100 years since we came here en masse 120 years ago. Really, we've come a long way, but there's a lot more we can do.
And just building off that point, I think that we're a very, very proud community. Every single time that I see a Greek name pop up on the news, I hear Greek at the supermarket. I I see a little Greek flag hanging in someone's car or on their bumper or whatever, I still get so excited. And like Eraklis was saying, I mean, I live in New York, so obviously we're a huge melting pot that you're going to find Greeks everywhere. But still, that excitement of hearing Greek, of seeing how many amazing things, like what types of amazing things our community can do from, like you said, fields from the medical field to the engineering field to athletics to anything. I mean, we really have cast a very, very wide net, and I don't think I'm ever going to stop, you know, tapping my husband or my mom being like, did you hear that? They're Greek, you know?
Tell me, Vanessa, that I'm not the only one that watches movie credits or TV show credits pointing out the Greek names.
Every single time.
Every time.
Every time.
Yeah. But that's something that it's incumbent on us to do it, right? But we that is something that we cannot explain to people who live in Greece.
Yeah, you know that
we can't do it. You know, I'm going to say very bluntly that for the vast majority of the existence of the modern Greek state, the diaspora has been disrespected immensely.
That's actually that's a very good point, because
immensely.
I feel it, but I never discuss it.
Yeah, and now that you said that, I can instantly have many thoughts of like how that's so true. I remember, you know, we do Greek nights here because, you know, we're Greek and we do Greek nights. And my cousins came from Greece and we're like, oh, we're going to go to Greek night. I'm like, yati, like, why? I was like, you know, Greek music, Greek dance. Like, we don't want to do that. I was like, really? But I mean, to be fair, they have such easy access to it. But I think that's like that big difference between Greek Americans or Greeks in the diaspora and the Greeks in Greece. And I mean, I don't want to say, but like, I kind of feel bad that they don't have that, because we have the pride that they have, but we also have that kind of community and stick together, you know, gang tribe like thing here.
My concern is that they consider it strange that we're so about it. Yeah. You know, that's my concern, that we get weird looks every time we get a little excited. I mean, obviously, you know, it's the same thing as the Parthenon. It's wow, and it should be. But, you know, if you live in Athens, you can see it maybe from your apartment window, the same way like we're in New York and we're not that fazed by super tall buildings. But, you know, the diaspora deserves a lot of respect, because without the diaspora, for example, there would be no modern Greek state. The Filiki Eteria built that country. I mean, who organized the funds? Who organized the support for the revolution? It was the diaspora. And
now in the modern state, I mean, I'm not saying that the Greek people, I'm not trying to take away from the Greeks of Greece, but the Greeks outside of Greece really support Greece.
Oh, absolutely.
In innumerable ways. I mean, really financially, we go back, not to go back to the vacations, but, you know, tourism is huge. We bring our friends, we bring our families. We always have that tie to Greece. And I wish it was more of a symbiotic relationship, because I feel like we give and give and give to Greece, and I'm not sure whether they appreciate it. But not only that, it's mostly appreciated. I mean, we don't expect anything from Greece.
To your point, Vanessa, I totally agree, because I've experienced it over the years. But I think this is just my personal experiences lately. In the last handful of years, I'm starting to notice that there's a lot of, you know, forward-thinking Greeks in Greece who are in our age group that are either they're starting their own businesses, they're aware of the Western world, they're aware of what happens over in the US, whether it's political or social and so forth. And I'm starting to feel a little refreshed that some individuals are, you know, being very sympathetic to us. And I hope that grows as these generations in Greece come about.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
a little bit more, but I believe that with Kyriakos Mitsotakis, who has had the experience. You know, he studied in the United States, he worked in the private sector. I think that he, for lack of a better term, like really gets it. He understands the value of the Greek American community. He understands the value of Greek people, young Greek people. I think he's trying to create jobs for those Greek people. They want to reverse the brain drain that happened over the course of the past, God knows how many years. He wants to keep the best and brightest. And not only that, I think he wants to bring in people that have left for other European countries or even for America. He wants to pull them back. Greece has a lot to offer. And I think with his leadership, people are seeing it, especially young people are seeing it more. Because he, unlike other administrations, I think he really appreciates the young people. I think he acknowledges their intelligence. I think that he is, like I said, I think he just gets it.
I agree totally.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the fact that the last few years have seen a difference in mentality, slowly but surely. I think that would not have come about organically, but for the 10-year economic depression that Greece went through and the rest of the world went through, you know, a recession. But Greece went through a depression, like a proper depression. And the only people that were crazy enough to invest in Greece when they had junk bond status for the economy were the Greeks abroad.
Yeah.
Because we routinely, we're talking about since the 1700s and going into the 1800s, oftentimes against our own self-interest, we put Greece first.
Yeah.
And so that happened with the depression in Greece for 10 years. And diplomatically, with starting at the turn of the last decade up until today with the Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis, you know, we're seeing right now Greece and the United States, because you guys are in America, so we'll talk more about it in America. Greece and the United States are currently enjoying their best diplomatic relations between the two countries, maybe ever. You know, Greeks for many years had anti-American sentiment because they blamed the Americans and the CIA for the dictatorship from 67 to 74. That dictatorship is what brought a lot of our parents to the United States. For example, it brought my dad here in the late 60s.
So it's like a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. You know, and if, you know, X, Y, and Z never happened, what would the diaspora look like? I don't know. But Kyriakos Mitsotakis, like my sister said, you know, went to school here. He gets it. And, you know, now you have young people in this government who understand that, you know, to get out of the previous economic depression and the economic devastation of COVID, on top of that, you know, they were rounding the turn, and then COVID happened early this year. The only way they're going to get out of this is with the diaspora again, because while there is a more stable government that more European and trade partners generally trust, they're going to have to start somewhere. And a lot of these countries, not just the United States, but Germany, Australia, the United Kingdom, France, you go, Canada, you go down the list, you know, a lot of people in a lot of key positions, like you guys outlined, are Greek. Yes. So, you know, community leaders in those countries, and that's just a natural alliance, you know, Germany, especially within the EU. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think that we are now looking at a pro-American government, a shifting mentality to pro-United States, and a lot of people in the United States government under Donald Trump and now moving into President-elect Biden. I mean, these people understand that Greece plays a huge part in that part of the world. And we're going to see that moving forward because Turkey is increasingly unstable. Yeah. And we gotta do something about that instability and fixing our interests in the Middle East. So Greece has a huge part to play, and so does Cyprus, for that matter. And I'm really excited that that's now being recognized on both sides of the Atlantic.
Very, very good points. Absolutely. I mean, that's always in the back of all of our minds as Greeks and our parents about, you know, Greece's relationship with the U.S. And sometimes we bicker and we hear the oppositions, you know, the U.S. government favors the Turkish government over the Greek government for different reasons. And I hope that definitely, you know, kind of, you know, switches, you know, our thought process here.
Yeah, the Turkish lobby in Washington, D.C., nothing against the Turkish people. Make that really clear.
Yeah.
It's the Turkish leadership, unfortunately, that is causing a lot of problems, not just to Greece and Cyprus, but just to everybody. Syria, Armenia, you name it. But you know, the United States is in a position to recognize, you know, where their allegiance should be, I think, because now they have a very trustworthy relationship for the first time in a long time, maybe ever, with their counterparts in Athens. So yeah, the Turkish lobby has gotten to a lot of senators, congressmen, women, and, you know, American presidents, because there's been a coordinated effort by the Turkish government for that to be the case. But, you know, whether it's the ecumenical patriarchate in Constantinople, or the Greek minority in Turkey, the Christian minority generally in Turkey, you know, there's a lot of places where the U.S. has a lot of vested interest. I mean, Turkey has U.S. nuclear weapons there. We have military bases in Turkey. You know, like, we're to the expectation that maybe some of our readers and a lot of Greeks of the diaspora out there, that the United States will just cut off their relations with Turkey, is not based in reality, unfortunately. That's just not going to happen. And the best thing that Greece can hope for is that the United States comes so much into their camp, where we can buy defense goods, defense materials, to create a situation of deterrence, so that Turkey does not feel like it's within their interests to keep harassing Greek islanders.
All very good points. And, you know, you just mentioned readers, and I wanted to touch on, as we get to the later part of our segment here, readership. You've had readership for the last 100+ years. Can you just give us a little bit of insight, you know, what, you know, the circulation, the readership today of the National Herald and the ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ? Obviously, there's a combination of, you know, print and digital. For our listening audience, I'd love them to get a little bit of a perspective of, you know, the penetration of the publication across. Is it just in the U.S., or do we go also to Canada and so forth?
Vanessa, you.
Sure. So we go all over the United States. We provide home delivery to the tri-state area and New Hampshire and Massachusetts. We also go via the Postal Service all over the United States.
Okay.
But as you mentioned, we have our news sites were implemented about 4 or 5 months ago now. And we have readership all over the world. Actually, if we look at our Google Analytics, some of our, especially on our Greek site, we have a lot of readership in Greece for the Greek site, obviously. And for the English site, we have readership in Australia, South Africa, Germany, England, Canada, of course, and also some really random points in like Chile, in Argentina, which is really amazing to see. And with Google Analytics now, it's pretty interesting that you can get to almost like a zip code of where these people are reading us. And it's amazing to see that people from around the world, their Greek diaspora, is really interested in what the Daughters of Penelope are doing, or what AHEPA is doing. These are worldwide organizations that have members from all over the world. And going back to the Pride talk that we had like just a few minutes ago, everyone is, I think, very proud of what we've accomplished. We being our organizations, we being our churches. Even though we're a very, very small community, we give a lot. I do a lot with the printed English edition, and every single week we're filling up 2-3 pages of what foundations are giving out scholarships, what churches are giving out money to the fire victims of California, of Oregon, I mean, we're an incredible group of people, and I'm sure Irakli will agree when I say that we are here to publicize all of these amazing accomplishments that these organizations are doing. We want everyone to know what's going on. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. The National Herald, the ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ, is the history textbook of the Greek diaspora, of the Greek immigrant. It is impossible, I think, to think of something else that has tracked the Greek community every single day for 105 years. I mean, if you sit down and you just put together every single newspaper, every single day for 105 years, and you just put it chronologically, that is the history of our people. And it is an invaluable resource for historians, for me, for you, for future generations. And we're here for the community, and we have been here, and we will continue to be here for a long time.
Well, we're really thankful to all of our subscribers. Thank you so much for your support. Obviously, it's been amazing, even during COVID. We've, thank God, been getting more subscribers. And it's been just an awesome thing to understand that even when things are getting tight for everybody, there's no question about it. People we're there every day for them for the last 105 years, and it's really nice to see that returned in kind. When that they got our backs, and it's just a wonderful thing. It's just a lot of love, and they understand that even with all of this going on, that this is something that's worth having either in their house physically, our newspaper, or on their screens, because life does go on, and we need to celebrate one another, or we have to mourn the ones we've lost, or we have to know the developments that are going on in Greece and Cyprus, because not only should we know these things, but it's deeply important. We've talked about how our mom and Adi's mom is from Crete. There was a severe flooding. There was severe flooding yesterday and today. So, what are we going to do about that? There's folks over there that need help, and
right.
Obviously everybody's going through it right now, but we need to get into that well a little bit of kindness and give out all we can these days.
I'm so happy to hear the fact that, the subscription rate is increasing during times like this. And having said that, Irakli, can you tell us where our listening audience can actually get a subscription? Give us your contact information, where they can go to get a subscription.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, thank you for the opportunity. So they can go onto the websites. My sister was just saying, we have 2 new websites that we hoped to have a big unveiling of, but due to circumstances, whatever. So our Greek website is www.ekirikas.com. So that's ekirikas.com. And then our English website is www.thenationalherald.com. And there's a little button on the top right there, and you'll see it says sign up, or subscribe rather. So you can visit our Facebook pages. You can follow the links on our Twitter pages, or you can call our office if you'd like. We'd love to hear from you all. Yeah, I mean, so that number, if you'd like, is 718.
Absolutely, please.
718-784-5255, and just say you'd like to sign up, and we'd really appreciate it if everybody did. We're writing our future together. This is who we are, and we're gonna we wrote the stories of your grandparents, your great grandparents, your parents, and we've been with you since you were kids, and we're gonna keep it going for the next, God willing, 105 years to come.
Absolutely. And I'll add to that, even if you're not calling to subscribe, please feel free to call our offices whenever you want, just to say hi or to tell us what we could be doing better, what we are doing well. I'm all about, we're all about constructive criticism, if there is any. And my email is vdiamataris@ikirikas.com. It's vdiamataris@ikirikas.com. And Eraklis is the same. It's just E and then our last name @ikirikas.com.
I'll also share all that information in the notes of the video and the podcast, so they don't have to remember everything, but
it's a lot of information.
And then
really long Greek last names. We wouldn't be Greek, right, if we didn't have them.
But I also wanted to mention real quickly before I forget, Ari, is that we wanted to thank both Eraklis and Vanessa and the whole team over at the National Herald for picking us up and writing a nice piece about connecting Greeks, because for us that was very special.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We said we finally made the paper, and
our pleasure.
And that was
Hopefully
that for
made
us
your mother-in-law proud. Maybe she saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my.
She finally knew of something Greek that I was doing.
right. But no, that's to us. That's that's very special because, growing up as young Greek Americans, and like I said, having the paper in our house, whether it was my dad, my uncle, my grandfather, constantly reading the paper. It's something sentimental to us to actually finally see ourselves in the paper that you are a part of. But thank you so much for doing that. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. And honestly, I can think of no better program, any other podcast this is the first time that my sister and I are being interviewed together since we assumed our posts last July. Well, my new position last July. My sister and I have been working at the paper every day for about 2 years now. This is the first time that we've sat down together, and I can't think of a better way to do that than on a podcast called Connecting Greeks, because that's what we do in our daily lives. That's what we're all trying to do here. We're trying to bring Greeks and Hellenism all in one place. So you connected, we're the siblings on one podcast.
To have you guys on your first podcast together, I really feel like there should have been a little bit of arguing or something, a little bit of fighting.
Well, yeah, we were talking about that tight nuclear unit. It's a family-run business. My dad Adonis is still in a special advisor to the newspaper. He comes into the office most days, and my aunt Veta is the director of advertising. So it's a family business, and that's reflected. We take a lot of pride in what we do, and we make it so that if you're in our newspaper, it's like a family member is in the newspaper to us.
Excellent.
That's
amazing. And having said that, you said family network. We're definitely going to make sure that the National Herald and ΕΘΝΙΚΟΣ ΚΗΡΥΞ is going to be always a part of our network here on Connecting Greeks and all of our other platforms, because this whole segment is an example of how important we all are to each other as Greeks and Greek Americans.
Yeah. This was so great. I mean, I love talking about this. I love talking about history. I love talking about our people. I love talking about just all this. And fellow Cretans from Chania, you can't beat that. But guys, it was so awesome to have you on the show. You guys, you're so accomplished, and you do great things, necessary things that, it just wouldn't be the same community if you weren't doing it. And, we appreciate that. And we appreciate your dad's efforts and your family's efforts, and both of you guys as well. You guys are really accomplished, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see. And we thank you for your time. I mean, I know everybody's kind of stuck with COVID or whatever, but everybody's still pretty busy. I mean, you got a computer in front of you. You have a lot of stuff to do, and we appreciate that you can make some time for us.
Yeah, and we definitely want to make it a point that even though this is the first time, we want to make sure that it won't be the last time that you're with us. So we definitely would like to have you come back at some point again soon.
Absolutely.
Oh, it'd be a
Very
pleasure.
much. We would love that. We would love that.
Thank you very much for your kind words, and thank you to everybody out there who is a reader or a subscriber of our newspapers. We hope to continue to keep earning your trust. And thank you, Ari, and thank you, Fotio, for having us on this fantastic podcast. You guys are doing a great job, and wishing you nothing but the best moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Right, exactly.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. Check out the video. Check out the podcast. We're gonna have all their info linked up so you could have easy access. Thanks, guys, again. Eraklis, Vanessa, Foti, as always.
Thank you.
And everybody out there, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Gracias.
Bye. Thank you.